yeah. Yeah. Get a little testes.
Ooh, testes.
Get a little test.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There we go. I think that's a little bit louder. A little bit louder now. A little bit louder now. Okay. Let's get that 10 seconds for Harambe.
Meet Mitch Weaver.
Hey, that's my shirt.
In the game of life, he's losing his shirt.
You're not fit to wear this shirt.
Mitch can't hold a job.
You're fired.
You get a horse and live in the mountains someplace and don't bother anybody. Got a personality like a dead moth.
Mitch is no good at relationships.
I'm through wasting my life with you.
Note to self, making love to blow-up doll, not as good as advertised.
Mitch lacks people skills.
Hey, that was really funny, sicking the cops on us like that.
I thought it was funny, but I'm surprised you guys did because you got your asses kicked.
I guess I showed you the thing or two about dirty work.
Quite good. Attack warning. Is it for real? Attack warnings for bloody real.
Live from Colorado Springs, the Drop Culture Podcast.
Want to confirm, is this an exercise? Roger, copy. This is not an exercise.
Come on, quick, get down. 1, 2, 3.
Welcome, everybody, to the Dropped Culture Podcast. I'm Dan.
I'm Brock.
And today we are going to do a little bit of dirty work.
Well, of course, this week we all learned, or last week, or however you want to look at it, that Norm Macdonald had passed away.
Yeah, unfortunate. You broke the news to me, actually.
Yeah. 8, 9 years keeping it secret. He didn't want that to be part of his deal. He just wanted to kind of live normally.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Not let anybody know. Which, yeah, kind of crazy. And yeah, one of the funniest comedians, the comedian's comedian. Everybody loved him. He was just such a weird character, the way that he did his comedy, which is just
kind
awesome.
of a dry delivery, just, yeah.
Super dad jokes. They were like really super dad jokes. Well, he only really did make a couple of movies, and this one was the only movie that he was a star of, from what I know.
Absolutely. I think the only other one I can think of that he was not, so he did this, of course he did Billy Madison.
Mm-hmm.
He did the voice of the dog in Dr. Dolittle, one of them, with Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Well, he was also on that movie with Dave Chappelle. Him and what's his nuts? Danny DeVito. Yeah, where they stole like a dog or some shit like that. And it was really weird. Let me see. Yeah, well, he was on Grown Ups, of course, which
right.
He was always kind of little. Dr. Dolittle, Tale to the Chief.
I don't know about that.
Wow. Fairly Odd Parents.
It was a great cartoon that I watched with my kids, actually.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
He's on The Animal. Screwed. That's what it was. Yes.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Not particularly a great movie, but pretty funny, you know. Okay. Basically capture or him and what's his nuts? Dave Chappelle, like kidnap a dog or some shit like that.
Interesting.
But, yeah, not very memorable. It was kind of like them. It was at the very beginning of their. Well, no, it wasn't. Because when did it come out? 2000? Yeah, 2000. So it was kind of like right before.
It was long after this, then.
Yeah,
This is what, 98?
Yeah. It was filmed in 96, but came out in 98.
Yeah.
And then when did Half Baked come out? About the same time, too, right? So if Half Baked came out at the same time about Dirty Work did, and then they did this movie in 2000, after that they didn't really do a lot of stuff, but Dave Chappelle is still prolific, and then
I think that was probably the time he hit up his show.
Yeah, 1998 was the year Half Baked came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, cool.
That's what I was looking up to. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Norm Macdonald, he was a writer on Saturday Night Live for the longest time, like kind of around the time, the biggest time for us, and it's Adam Sandler, Chris Farley, all of those guys, David Spade, everybody from those movies at that time.
Jim Brewer, even.
Jim Brewer, yeah, Goat Boy.
Yeah.
Also in Half Baked.
Yes.
But then also Bob Saget is tied to this, just like he is to Half Baked.
Yes.
This was Bob
Saget's
directed
this.
Yeah, directorial debut. Some of the and Bob Saget's such a dirty comedian now, like over the top dirty, I would say,
Yeah.
Just because he had that America's Funniest Home Videos, and then he just like way over the top. Now.
Well, Norm Macdonald's stand-up was pretty dirty. You know what I mean? It was kind of over the top too. So I could see how him and Saget could get along.
Right.
Yeah, let's do some cocaine and get drunk and write stuff.
Let's get all fucked up.
Right.
Then you got Artie Lang in this.
Yes.
Artie Lang has always been a funny comedian to me. I remember when
Howard Stern fame.
Yeah, whenever he started on Howard Stern, I was like, oh my God, he was in Dirty Work.
Right.
That dude's so funny. Which is weird, right? Yeah. That I knew him from there. But then, of course, you got Chevy Chase, which Chevy Chase and Norm Macdonald, Weekend Update guys,
You could tell they're... that was one thing I read too. Chevy Chase was really attracted by the fact that it was going to be like an R-rated kind of.
He even told him, "Don't let him cut your movie." But him and Chevy Chase, on Norm Macdonald has a show. He has Chevy Chase on there, right? Mm-hmm. And Chevy Chase is he's a weird
Chevy Chase.
Yeah, he's a weird, funny guy too. But they had a behind the scenes where they were doing something, like they were both sitting in these chairs and they filmed this little bitty part. And Norm Macdonald actually bit him like in the dick. No
what?
Shit. Yeah, like they were doing some funny, weird joke. And Norm Macdonald like got in front of him, and then he's like, he really fucking bit me in the dick, and they showed it on the deal. It was like, oh my God. So, and then Don Rickles, the famous Don Rickles, the dirtiest fucking Don Rickles ever.
Yeah, I think that it's amazing. You have like Don Rickles, Chevy Chase, Norm Macdonald. You know what I mean? Bob Saget's the director. It's a comedian's deal.
Well, and then you have Kevin McDonald,
right?
Shooter McGavin.
Yeah.
You also had
who plays the ultimate dickhead in everything.
Yeah, he's great at it. He could have played the James Woods part in Casino.
Yes,
and been like very convincing too.
Jack Warden was in this.
Yeah.
He's been in so much stuff, but like the thing that I really remember him from the most is Used Cars. If you remember that with Kurt Russell, that and like he was in a lot of those movies right around there. He was in The Great Muppet Caper. Those kind of movies all around that same time period. That's really what I remember his face from. Yeah, but he was in a lot of stuff. Like
he was in Toys.
I remember that.
Problem
Robin
Child.
Williams,
yeah.
He was in both Problem Children, son.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Is that how you say that, or do you say Problem Childs?
Both Problem Child movies.
Ah, there we go. Fair enough.
Yeah, he was around for a long time. I mean, he was on 12 Angry Men. Yeah. One of the classic
Replacements.
Movies. Wow. Yeah. That's right, huh?
Yeah. One of the best football movies of all time.
And didn't it have Keanu Reeves in it?
Yes, it did.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Sure did. Also had Jon Favreau.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
As a crazy cop linebacker or something.
Yeah. A Tackleberry cop. But John Goodman is in this.
Yes.
Just for a very
half a
small
second, yeah.
And this was the last movie uncredited for Chris Farley.
Absolutely.
Because he did Almost Heroes, and this movie was, I guess the story goes that this movie was pushed back for a long time because Norm Macdonald was fired because of his OJ jokes.
Right, because the producer, right, or CEO or whatever he was for
the head of the
NBC,
studio,
he was friends with OJ.
Yeah, and always didn't like his jokes, and then finally he fired him, and they refused to, or he made everybody and refused to not sell them time to promote the film.
Movie. Right. And this is at the time when he was still getting paid by NBC because he had to show up to Saturday Night Live, but he didn't do anything.
Yeah. He just got to watch a show while getting
and
paid.
hang out.
Yeah, why the fuck not, right?
In one of his interviews, he said, like, I'm sure, like, how was it with somebody asked him how was it with the rest of the cast? And he's like, oh, I'm sure it's uncomfortable. I'm sure they all like to see me go, and I'd like to see them see me go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But God, there's so many fucking people.
Gary Coleman.
Gary
Coleman's son.
And then what's his name?
Ken Norton.
Yeah.
From went to school in Jacksonville, Illinois.
Ooh, look at that. I mean, there's just so many little bitty things. Sandler. God, there's just so many little bitty cameos. Even Whammy Dude, the dude that we just saw at the Comic-Con, I forgot that he was in that until I rewatched it again Wednesday or something. And I was like, holy shit. And it's the same dude.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks exactly the same as he does now. And he's been on so many things. What is his fucking name? Anyway, so yeah, they filmed it in like 95, 96, right? It's a total 90s movie. Every bit of it.
And all those songs, they played so many songs where I was like, that they start out with that one, and then they go to the Better Than Ezra song.
Yes.
And then it was, I don't remember what the next one was, but I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, there was no Spin Doctors, though.
Thank God, or I would never watch this movie, ever.
But, everybody was kind of not necessarily firing on all cylinders, but people were doing really good in this, as small as the roles were.
Right. I think that what we got and what was made are two different things. They filmed an R-rated movie.
Right.
And then the studio came and cut out like half of it to make it PG-13.
What the fuck is that?
And they moved it from, I think it was February, March or something like that when they were supposed to be released to like July.
Yeah.
Like when all the big blockbuster movies are coming out. So,
and then it was supposedly around, what was it? Something About Mary.
Oh, okay.
Because that came out the same year during the summer. But no. It was coming out. It came out during the fall of that year. And so I guess the head of the studio of MGM or whoever released this was like, no, we don't. There's no R-rated comedies. Nobody likes that shit. So we're not going to do that. We're going to do this. But then they were consciously thinking, oh, here's this R-rated comedy coming out from Universal or some shit.
Right.
So guess what? Let's bury this movie. It was probably a favorite.
Oh, you know what came out the same time as this?
Godzilla.
Yeah.
That's what killed it.
Isn't
Godzilla
that
98.
People chose wrong.
They did not choose wisely.
No, they did not. Man, but there, you mentioned there's like a ton of people in this movie, like so many little things. Rebecca Romaine.
Right. Just kind of out of the fucking blue,
what?
right? John Stamos' ex-wife. Or are they still married?
I don't know the answer to that.
She's a bearded lady.
Yeah. And it was funny because when they first showed her, I was like, bearded lady's kind of hot. And
wait.
And then of course, shaved her, and I was like, whoa, that's Rebecca Romaine.
It's Rebecca Romaine.
David Koechner.
Yeah, that was him.
Yeah,
the
that's who you were thinking
Whammy.
of. Yeah.
Look at all these dead
so many
hookers.
things, yeah.
I know, right? He's been in so much shit.
Funny dude.
Oh, What was really cool is like they had multi-generational too. They had a fucking, I guess not multi-generational, but they had Farley's brother had a cameo,
right,
and a speaking line,
yep.
which is pretty cool. The main woman, what is her name? Was it Taylor Howard? I don't really remember.
I think it's
her.
Trailer Howard.
Trailer.
Yeah.
Don't really remember her in a lot of other stuff. Besides,
the only thing I remember her from is Two Guys and a Girl, and Two Guys and a Girl in a Pizza Place. She was the girl, and that was Ryan Reynolds' show.
Oh.
That was the first thing I ever saw Ryan Reynolds on.
Okay.
And he played Burke, who was Ryan Reynolds. And little did I know that was his acting repertoire.
Of course.
At the time, he's just still Ryan Reynolds, which is great because he's got a great personality. But
yeah,
like the whole time I couldn't figure out, I'm like, where do I know this fucking girl from?
Yeah, I never watched the show.
Pizza Place.
Never watched that show. Never did. I don't know why.
I think that was one of those ones, like once it was like in reruns, I watched a bunch of them. You know what I mean?
It's not Kevin McDonald, it's Christopher McDonald.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
God, he's been on so much shit. He was
you're talking about Shooter McGavin.
Yeah,
Yes.
Shooter.
Old Shooter Travis Cole, if you will. If you're nasty.
Yeah, Travis Cole. Yeah.
Cold trickle.
Cold trickle. Along the outside. Don't go through the smoke, man. Don't go through the smoke, Cole.
Hit the brakes and let them fly right by.
Yeah. Cole, my whole life's gone because of that wreck. Okay, so enough of Days of Thunder. We'll do that eventually.
Will we?
Fuck yeah. We have to.
Will it be a Top Gun, Days of Thunder double feature where we can talk about how they use the same move?
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
I'm in.
5 years apart.
Yeah.
Great movies. Great movies.
Hey, you know what? We had planes. Now let's have cars and do the same shit.
Yay! He's a Maverick in a NASCAR.
Yes.
So yeah, you had a lot of people in this movie, which, I would have loved to seen the R-rated version. The really bad version.
Yeah, I think again, he said they cut out so much, so
they had to make it PG-13. So a lot of the jokes were redubbed.
Right. So you get like a lukewarm version of what this movie probably was going to be. And I find this movie, fairly funny through most of it. And I couldn't imagine what it would have been with all that talent there. And I would have loved to seen, like you said, like a director's cut or something,
Oh my God.
The Saget cut.
Yeah.
Hashtag.
Yes, there we go. The Saget cut. Why not?
Saget cut. We're in.
That might actually be something that's going to happen because he's gone now. Why not? Why wouldn't they do that?
That would be awesome. Let's start it.
Right.
You heard it here first, folks.
Hashtag Saget cut. And they re-release it on HBO. Ooh. But yeah,
black and white.
This movie was just kind of doomed from the beginning because of the OJ shit, and that sucks. Everybody in this was very funny. Just a weird plot because it was based on like a book, a Ronald Dahl book,
Right.
So you kind of Roland or what
Rolled.
is it? Rolled.
Roald, I guess.
Road.
Roald Dahl.
Roads. So yeah, you had the makings of something really funny, and if they would have let it go, which studio moguls, they don't fucking.
They're
do
well known
right.
for fucking movies up.
Why are they still doing it?
Well, and here's what they keep doing: they fuck a movie up, and then they have a budget of $13 million, and they make 10.
Yeah.
I
think they made 13.
No, they made 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck. But
they make their money back.
Well, the home video market for this one.
This is again one of those movies that, like you said, once it got to home video, it was sort of a cult classic of the time.
And the DVD was just coming out about this time. Whenever it hit DVD,
99 or something like that, like the next year.
Yeah, because I got my DVD player in 98, and I think Half Baked was the first movie that I ever really owned.
Nice.
Besides South Park or something like that. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, if you have DVDs and DVDs are, kind of like the top shit. And then they ended up being really cheap.
Right.
Like they are now. But yeah, you saw this movie everywhere.
Yeah, for
and now
sure.
it's like it's on syndication now too, because it's been on all of the pay movie streaming services for years.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever left anything. Like it's been on HBO for the past like 2 or 3 years.
Right.
It was on Netflix for a long time. And I know they signed deals with packages.
Right,
It's kind of almost like the Screen Gem shit that they did for the horror shows.
Right.
They're kind of like, here's a package of movies. You got to take all of these and you can stream them. You got them for 3 years and then we're going to take them back,
Yep.
So this is one of those that's been on there for a long time. But it has so many like alumni in it from Saturday Night Live. So it was really cool. So, I mean, besides the production and everything else, I mean, the movie just itself is so funny. There's so many good parts to it.
There really are.
It's just like you gather 100 really good jokes and you put them all together with no real linear plot kind of
with
to go with it.
limited linear plot.
Yes, yeah. So basically, it's just about him, which is Norm Macdonald, which is Mitch, and then you got Artie Lang, which is Sam, his friend, and then Artie's father.
Right, because Mitch didn't have a father, never knew who his father was.
Right, and Artie was his best friend, and he gets like the first part. There's so many different things that goes wrong. So he gets fired from his pizza job,
right,
which he makes up some lie. And the guy's like, no, they just called and said that you were 3 minutes late because of a wreck, right?
Right.
So that was the catalyst that puts him down to nothing.
And then, he goes home and gets his girls like selling all of his stuff. Come to find out, she's the niece of the guy that owned the pizza place.
Right.
And this is his 4th job in
like a month.
Something, yeah.
Well, he drives up in a Oldsmobile with a flat tire.
Yes.
Completely flat. And then she's throwing all of his stuff out and he's looking around.
Well,
he
keeps walking by.
Yeah.
Like,
like,
before anything gets thrown out, he sees people walking by. He's like, is that my jersey? Those are my shoes.
Yeah. Well, the dude's like, do you got these in 11 wide? He's like, give me those. The guy ask her for another pair. So, yeah, she yells at him, and then he's like, the only thing that I paid for is a popcorn machine.
It flies down.
Yeah. So
and she's done with him.
Yeah, so he's on the outs. He has his car's broke down. His popcorn machine's fucked up. He has no job, so he goes to live with Artie.
Yeah,
right.
Sam. Yeah.
Sam and his dad. So that's whenever
Pops McKenna,
because he's a retired boxer.
Yeah,
and he just looks like a retired boxer.
Yeah,
but he's watching the same aerobics video that they were watching in Friday the 13th Part 4.
Yes.
Which is pretty funny. Yeah, the first time I saw it, I was like, oh.
But he's always watching the same one, too.
Yeah, it's the 20-minute workout video. I looked it up. It's called the 20-minute workout.
If I looked it up, he means he has it at home.
Yes, yeah, along with my 8-minute abs.
Yes, and his Tybo.
And then I went out and bought 7-minute abs. 7-minute abs.
It's a minute faster.
Yes, because it's a minute less. It'll make it. So, so it doesn't he like, he's like, he creeps me out.
He's like telling me about how his dad creeps him out. And then he's like, well, let's just stay here with him for a minute.
Yeah, where's Artie going to?
I don't know, but he comes over and he's like, I got ears. And
yeah, I can hear the creepy old man, huh? But then he like, what is the magazine that he gives Artie? It was something like Old Men
and Horrors or something like that.
Something stupid.
He's like, and there's an article about stereos or something.
I got that for you. And he's like, thanks, Pops. Artie's delivery and a lot of that shit is so funny.
Absolutely.
So yeah, they have to.
So he has a heart attack. The McKenna.
Yeah, he has a heart attack while they're sitting on the deal, and this is before they kind of. Don't they try to get jobs at that point? No, that was afterwards. Yeah. So this first part is them just kind of thinking about everything, and
well, because they go. I mean, really, this goes to the heart attack pretty quick, right?
Yeah, it was after
Yeah.
like the first couple of
Because
minutes.
while he's sitting there with him, he has a heart attack and he thinks he's fucking around because he already got him once.
Well, they go to the bar.
Yes.
They go to the bar first.
That bar's first. You are
Yeah,
correct.
and they're chilling at the bar, and that's when they get into the fight
with the varsity, the frat dudes.
Yeah,
or
the
whatever.
frat dudes, because Artie's trying to hit on some chick that's not into him at all.
Or the other guy, apparently. You know what I mean? She's just like, you should fight about it.
Yeah. And then, of course, we get to see Chris Farley's first part. He's like, it could be worse. I could have got my nose bit off by a Saigon whore. Whoa! He's all mad. He's like, oh, yeah.
I'll buy him a beer.
Yeah. Give him one on me. So then they get into that brawl, and of course he's the only one that gets thrown out the plate glass window.
Because right before that, he actually meets Kathy.
Yeah.
Is it Kathy?
Yeah, I think so. And she walks away.
Right.
Because that's the running joke throughout the whole deal is he gets thrown into the trash can or thrown out of places, and he's always like
physical humor.
Yeah. Note to self. He still has that note to self shit, which is funny. So they get home, or no, they rent the cop outfits. Where do they rent those at? This is just funny.
I don't know.
So
that's like because they always got even with people. We saw some early on where it was like when he was young and they were getting back at the kids that were mean to him or whatever.
The crossing guard.
Yeah. With the super glue on the hand.
Look at
on the butt, rather.
Yeah. He's like, the crossing guard's got his hand on my ass. Everybody look. Yeah. And then, of course, he's always like.
So they do that again with the cops, and they call and they say, hey, if these cops show up, to the frat guys, hey, they're just messing around, And
they're not real.
Yeah. So they, of course, when the cops come, like the one guy just decks one of them. Next thing you know, there's cops everywhere. Of course, they're dressed like cops, so they just start going in there and messing with them too.
They grab the main guys and they're like, "Here, we'll take this guy."
Yeah.
and then Artie lays out one dude.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Let me take this one." So Norm hits him and he's like, "Ah,
my hand!"
And then Artie just freaking swings for the fences. Every time he like throws that punch, his hat falls off. Every time he does it, it's fucking awesome.
Swing for the fences, Sam. Swing for the fences.
Well, it was really funny too because he's like, real cops, yeah. And there's, just the way that his delivery on that shit. So they go home and they're like, yeah, this is fucking awesome.
And that's when Pops has the heart attack.
He's like, hey, Mitch, come over here for a second. He's like, no, I'm not going to fall for that now. He's like, no, come here. I think I'm having a heart attack. So then they're at the hospital.
Right.
Pops is alive.
And that's where we meet Dr. Farthing.
Yeah, he drops the bomb on him before that. He says, hey, Mitch. He gives him the locket. And he's like, here, open this up. And he's like, that looks like my mom. He's like, yeah, and that's me. He's like,
I'm your dad.
Yeah, I'm your dad. Don't tell
Sam. Yeah.
Don't tell Sam at all. I don't want him to know his whole life was a lie.
Right.
Okay. I think they would have been like, oh, that's cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Best friends anyways.
Yeah, we're best friends. Now we're brothers. Even better. So...
Yeah. They do have that moment up on top of the hospital or whatever.
Yeah, where they're on top of, I guess, the apartments or something.
I don't know where they're at. Yeah.
But that's when we see Dr. Farthing for the first time, and they're sitting in
Chevy Chase, of course.
Yeah, and Artie's always leaving. Sam's always leaving. It's like, I'm gonna go do this. Like he leaves it for. I'm gonna go find the doctor,
right?
And then he brings him back, and then they're sitting in the office, and Chevy Chase is like, well. And
are you a bet man?
Yeah. Well, I would. What was his bet? What was it? If you're a bet man, I'd bet on him dying. Something.
It was very straightforward.
Yeah. He's like, what? And then he leaves. Sam leaves, and he's like, well. I made a couple of bets back in the 80s on some boxing, and he's like, wait a minute. Did you bet on Rocky 3 against Rocky? He's like, well, hindsight's 20/20. What the fuck, right? So he's basically got to come up with $50,000 so I can bump him on the list.
Right.
You know, because he's old. He's like, is he famous, anything like that? And he's like, no, he was a boxer. He's like, nah, that won't do either. So they basically got to come up with $50,000 in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Something
Very short
crazy.
amount of time,
yeah, something crazy. Or their Chevy Chase is going to get killed.
Yeah.
By the bookies.
Which is awesome because throughout the movie, we just keep seeing like him with like a broken arm.
Yeah.
He's in like a leg cast at one point. Yeah. So every time you see him, he's just a little more jacked up.
Yeah. Like they're not going to.
It's weird. They break your arm or break your leg or whatever he says. And he's like, and they still expect you to pay money.
Yeah. They chop off your toe.
That's what it was. Your pinky toe, your little toe or something.
Chop off your pinky toe and they still want money. That's weird. So they got to figure out how to do it. So their first job, they get their construction workers, and the dude's like, "We need a 90-degree eavesment, and we need this," and he's like, He's like, what's the matter? He's like, well, that'll be a problem.
He's 90 degrees, and it's going to be a problem.
Yeah. He's like, why? Well, we lied on our applications.
We don't know anything about construction.
Artie's like, when's lunch?
You're fired.
Yeah. So they get rid of him there, and then they end up at the movie theater.
Which is Don Rickles' movie theater. And they're having their big inspection from the company or whatever.
Right. The head dude of the whole place is going to be there. Which is pretty funny because Don Rickles insults the shit out of Artie.
Yeah.
like really bad.
He's like talking to his stomach.
Yeah.
How you doing, ice cream?
How you doing in there, ice cream? Yeah. He's like, what are you laughing there? You look like a baby monkey or something like that. You look like a baby ape. I mean, it was just so fucking mean. And they're like, oh, well, I'd give you $20 to if you.
Or the guy's like, I'll give you 10, and then the other one's like, I'll give you 20.
Yeah,
and they like make $400 or something because all the employees hate this guy so much.
Because he says, well, we were like that when we started,
right?
But they're all grown.
But they
men.
all need the money. They said, yeah,
yeah, but we need this. And
yeah,
like, well, okay. So what do they do? Of course, they have to put it on a movie. So the movie's coming on, and they're like,
the
okay.
title screen comes up. Men in Black. What was the rest of that title?
Who
Brian?
like to have sex with other men.
Yes.
And then you can hear it in the background. It's like, hey, there's an alien. I think we need to have sex.
Well, they show the crowd, and the whole crowd's just like stone faced. What's going on?
And there's even another line. Look, it's another alien. I think we should have sex.
And right before the movie starts, Don Rickles comes down and talks to that like the head honcho guy.
Yeah,
and he's like, top notch. I'm going to go get you some popcorn. Blah 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 blah. Or some. And so he doesn't see that this has happened. Right? Don Rickles' character, and he's like being a big jackass to the guy at the concession.
Yeah, he's
took
like,
you long enough.
Yeah, here, would you like me to get you some refreshments? And he's like, okay. So yeah, he goes in there, and then that's after, and then Artie's like got his arm around his head
because they're not looking.
Yeah, and he looks back, and he's like, note to self. Sam just looked at the screen. He's like, no, I didn't. No.
And so he gets, Don Rickles' character gets trampled as people, they're like running out of the theater, and the one dude tells him he's finished and like steps on his chest.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah. Dude, they run him over big time. And then they all pay up and they're like, huh, that's a good idea. So then, of course, Artie's sister or Sam's sister was going to send them like $2,000, right? Because that's all the money that she had. So they get that idea that they're gonna fucking open up the store,
the revenge for hire store.
Right. So they're getting into the place, and of course
it sounds like a great business model to me. I'm in.
What is his name? Phil Patrick or Kilpatrick, the owner of he's like, now the only rule I have is you be on time. If you're not on time, I owe you a punch in the stomach. He's like, oh, that's his department. He's like, oh, yeah. While Sam's walking by, and he's like, okay. So then, of course, there's Kathy. She's walking, right? And, she basically, like, goes over to the the car lot, which is like right there,
it's
town square in
Phillips, David Keckner's
yeah
car lot, and he's a big jackass.
He's
there.
a fucking asshole too. Like, and he gets the idea that since they were doing a live television commercial, he's got an idea, and he's like, oh, let me see this. So he uses a lot of money for all these hookers, right?
Right.
And even Sam's sitting there, and he's like, despite what you've already heard, you do not have to do any sex work for this. And Sam's just standing there like, ugh. You know? So they start David Koechner starts the whole deal, and they're all
the commercial. They got the live TV channel out there.
Right. And then
he's talking about the Cadillac.
Yeah, how good they are, and look at all the space that these have. And then doesn't he like engage in don't you, like Norm Macdonald says something to him.
Norm Macdonald said, well, that trunk looks a little bit small.
He's like, no, it's not. We're on live fucking TV. So then he starts, already has all the key fobs,
right.
And starts popping all of them.
And there's a hooker in the back of each one.
Yeah.
He's like, it's a dead hooker. It's another one.
There's another dead hooker over here. And then he throws that as really fast, you know, if you don't like guys like this and you want us to do this, blah, 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 call dirty work, you know? Right. So she comes over to it's like the next day, she comes over to the store and she's like, how could you do that? Now I'm fired. He had to sell the dealership. I don't have a job. Thanks.
Right.
Dick. And at that time, we have the little guy walk in, right? The shorter person. Right. And he walks up and he's like, what am I?
No, I'm short, not invisible.
Yeah. So I need some help. So then this is their second job.
Right.
And they have to go, she's an abusive bearded lady.
She's abusive drunk.
Yes.
Bearded lady, yeah.
And she's like, she walks up to the dude that hires him, knocks him off the freaking podium, and then
like hits on Mitch.
Yeah, and Sam's like, does that go for me too? So she passes out, and of course he's like, I know what to do. So he cuts her hair off,
shaves her beard. Yeah.
And then
she wakes up and she's like touching her face. Ah! Yeah. And it's Rebecca Romaine.
Yeah, of course, right? So
Stamos, or not pre-Stamos.
Was it pre-Stamos or
probably during Stamos? I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you think that's how she does her life? BS and AS
before Stamos, after Stamos.
That's right.
Maybe.
I don't know. Are they married? Did we ever decide?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
Uncle Jesse and his hair.
Yeah. So after this, they've made like no money whatsoever.
No.
You know?
Not really.
Well, they have the other one where the guy's like, hey, these people next door don't shut up. There's loud music. There's all kinds of crap going on. I want them to stop as soon as you can. And they're like, okay. So they sneak up to the house and they got a box full of old fish. They're like, oh my God.
And they start putting them everywhere.
Everywhere. In the potted plants, in the washing machine, and he even turns it on. And then the dudes are coming home and they're like, oh shit. So they have their fish and they go into the other room.
And then it's a big cocaine deal.
Yes. He's like, do you smell that? He's like, what? It smells like fish. Is that some kind of code word or something?
And then they just kill each other.
He's like, oh no, that's a chainsaw.
Oh, and he took it from me and now he's using it on me.
Is that a grenade? And they walk out and they're just like,
yeah, just stepping in the goo.
And the neighbor comes over and is like, oh my God, I didn't ask you to do this. So even Sam's trying to put more fish in the deal. Right. He's like, come on, let's go. So they're only making, $400 or $500 on each one of these, right? Not that much. And so they have to have a big score. Well,
this is when the old woman hires them
to stop the bulldozer
because what was his name, Trent Cole or whatever?
Travis Cole.
Travis Cole.
Travis Cole.
A TR name.
Yeah, he's saving the what is it? The
Opera House, and he's going to level this old lady's house that she's had for 60 years
for a parking lot.
So his rich friends don't have to park on the street.
Yeah.
As she says.
So he's like, you think what I'm thinking? He's like, yep. So they put the popcorn just like they did at the very beginning and the parking ticket person. So they put the popcorn in the deal and it stops it dead cold.
Right.
So they're like, shit. Travis Cole is all pissed off and he fires home dude.
Right.
You know.
Well, because then in the news coverage is like, are these guys heroes? You know.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, you know, they did the right thing. He's kind of pandering to everybody. You know, because
and then they go to prison or they go to jail for it, not prison.
Yeah, they arrest him for it. Yeah, and that's whenever. Yeah, that's when he's like, you know what they do to guys like us in here? Like, what? He whispers in his ear. He's like, I've never heard of that.
And then they come and get Mitch.
Yeah, they come down. It's like, all right, now it's your time.
I love his little speech after that.
Yeah,
where he's like, you know what hurt the most? Well, that hurt the most, but it was the respect.
He says, yeah, he says, you fellas have a lot of growing up to do. I'll tell you that. Ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. Can you believe these characters? Way out of line. Way out of line. Have a good mind to go to the warden about this. You know what hurts the most is the lack of respect. You know, that's what hurts the most, except for the other thing. That hurts the most. But the lack of respect hurts the second most. Ridiculous. Because he's pulling up his pants.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
And then they're bailed out of jail. And that's when they talk to Travis Cole, because he bailed him out of jail and like got in front of the cameras and said, oh, they're guys, oh, whatever. And then he's like, offers him a job.
Yeah. For 99 Franklin Street.
Yes.
99 Franklin.
For $50,000, which is the money they need.
Mm-hmm. Exactly the same amount of money.
Because that's what they said they needed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, of course, I think we get another trip back to the doctor's office. You know,
you know what we didn't talk about was when they were looking for jobs before they started Dirty Work, and they do the testing for the
brownies. Oh shit! Yeah,
that was so good. I can't believe we didn't talk about that.
Because Artie's got like a whole mouthful of brownie. He's like, and then Mitch just takes a little bitty piece, and he's like. So it's just like barely breaks off a crumb, but he's tripping out.
And then they cut to the car.
Yeah.
And Artie's like, I feel a little itching. Maybe not. Maybe not. Because that was one of the side effects.
Yeah.
And Norm's like all red. And he's tripping balls. Yeah. And he looks over and it's Gary Coleman.
Reading the paper.
And looks up and Adam Sandler's like cooking something over a spit.
Yeah. He's like,
come here.
Burn. You're gonna burn. So that was the first Gary Coleman part.
Yeah, I can't believe we missed that.
I know, huh? That was a really good part too. So yeah, so they go back and then they're of course the old man's like chasing around the women. And he kicks out a male nurse. He's like, "Come back when you're a woman." And that's when you see Chevy Chase again, and he's all fucked up. His arms in a cast or some shit like that. And he says that line. Yeah. So then they're like, "Well, shit, we got the money. We're gonna take care of you." And he's like, "Hey, we're gonna do this." And he's like, "Okay." So they already know that they're going to get the money.
Right.
So they start to pull the same shit, except for...
Well, before that...
He meets with Kathy.
Kathy, and that's where her grandmother lives. And all those girls are walking in with her.
Yeah.
And so he assumes that it's a whorehouse.
Yeah, but
they're like young, pretty girls.
Yeah, but she's been running a sewing business out of her house.
As we find out after he fucks this house up.
For like 30 years or some shit like that.
And they do fuck that building up.
Oh my God. It's so funny.
Artie's running through doors.
Yeah.
And Norm tries to do that.
But then he has to burn it down to walk through.
And then like takes the fire extinguisher. All right.
Yeah, well, at that one point, Sam says something like, you like her, don't you? And he's like, no. He's like, no. He's like, you always say no like that whenever you do like something. He's like, have you ever jumped out the entire Empire State Building? No. He's like, didn't you say that Sean Connery was pretty sexy in James Bond? He's like, no. See what I'm saying? And that's when he gets to the poster.
Yes.
And he's like, and he stops and he rolls it up and takes it.
Yeah,
for Thunderball.
They go a little further this time. Like they're smashing walls. They're
breaking the toilets.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Mitch throws the deal into the Is it Mitch?
Sam?
No.
Oh, Mitch throws the one in. Sam throws the other one in, and it doesn't go off.
Yeah, so he sits down and
the cherry bombs into the toilet, I should say.
And then, Artie's sitting there, Sam's sitting there, reading the paper, smoking a cigarette, taking a shit. The fucking thing explodes on him.
Absolutely.
Because they were under the guise of a fumigation.
Yes, they had like a big tent over the building so they couldn't see what was going on.
Yeah, and they destroyed everything.
And then what did they find out?
That Travis Cole didn't own
that building at all.
It was Kirkpatrick or Phil Patrick or something.
The guy that punches people in the stomach. Yes. The guy that rents them their space.
Right. Yeah. So he's like, oh my God, did that really happen? You know? So they go back up and they're like, no, we're going to go get our money. Right. And he's like, no, I don't even own the building at 99 Franklin Street. You know?
And I'd like to see you prove it.
Yeah, because they walk in the first time and they get kicked out. Like Artie walks out, right? Or Sam walks out and he's kind of like, huh. And then they throw Norm out.
Norm always gets thrown out of everything.
And they walk up to the homeless guys. Hey, homeless guys.
Was the one homeless guy that always had like the monologue, was that the principal from Billy Madison?
Yep.
I thought so.
I think he was a big time writer on that. Oh my God. On Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he did a lot of writing on there. So he's like, hey, homeless guys, I tell you what, I'll give you $1 each if you go into this building here and run around yelling and screaming.
You're probably looking for a crazy...
He's like, that's very nice, but I think what you probably need are like some psycho, out of control homeless guys. It's like
more of the
broken, spiritless, I've lost the will to live type of homeless guys. How about for $2?
And they do it. They run through like crazy, man. And of course, Norm and Sam walk right in and get in the elevator.
Yeah, and then they go see Travis Cole, and he breaks the news to him. He's like, "Fuck you, I screwed you over." Yeah, he's like, "I think I taught you a thing or two about dirty work or something like that."
Yes.
He's like, son of a bitch. So they got to get him back. Of course, he gets thrown out again, and all the homeless dudes are still sitting there, right? And he's like, that one time when you were saying that, you know, the CIA was in your head, he's all, I about shit my pants. He's like, about? Or almost. Like he really did. It's so funny. And then, you know, of course, he gets into that really big monologue because he's the guy originally that got fired because of their stuff.
Right.
And then he's like, here's your $2. Interrupts you right in the middle of it. And I think the other dude has been in a lot of stuff of theirs too. Yeah. Both of those guys with the lines to have. So yeah, now, you know, Kathy's pissed off at him. Everybody's
pissed off at him.
He's got no place to live.
The Kirkpatrick guy punches already laying in the stomach.
Yes. He's like, what was that for? And and he tells him that
I don't think they really know until they go to dirty work, and it's like got a chain around it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I owe you a punch in the stomach was like the
and then
the sign.
Well, then he tells Sam that they're brothers.
Right.
And he gets pissed off and he's basically like, just leave. So he sleeps in his car that night.
And that guy jumps in and steals his radio. Breaks his window, steals his radio.
While he's in like
a nightcap.
Pajamas. And he's got like a night hat on and everything. And he's like, hey, could you keep it down? I'm trying to sleep back here. The dude's like, looks at the stereo and then just runs away.
Yeah.
So they basically have to come up with a scheme to get him back. But he notices that on his tape recorder, because he was listening back to something, he noticed that he recorded
the whole conversation with old Travis Cole.
The whole thing. And he was like, oh my God, I got him, right? So they decide that they're going to sabotage the opera.
Yes.
It's Don Giovanni. Don Giovanni. You know, he's so proud of it. Home dude's got his own box seats and everything. Yeah. And he does even make that comment at one time. He's like, I think he's got his finger up that Chihuahua's ass.
He does.
And then, so that's when Farley comes in. He's part of the deal. All the hookers.
Yeah.
Then they bring Pops
which we
out.
should probably mention earlier on during the hookers in the car, which these are all the same hookers, which like they now work with them.
Yeah.
Exclusively.
Full time.
But Chris Farley's character is like, that's the Saigon whore that bit off my nose.
Yeah. So he starts chasing her, right?
Right.
That was it. That was like right at the very beginning too. So yeah, because he even asked Chris Farley if, hey, can I stay the night? He's like, well,
I stay at the Y.
Yeah, and my roommate, old Jim.
He watches me sometimes while I sleep. It's a little unsettling.
His knee is got quite a bit of fluid in it, and
just got drained.
Yes, and is getting a little bit right. we did gloss over one of the funniest lines in that movie too, when they're about to start fighting, right? And so the bartender walks up to Chris Farley in front of the jukebox, and he's like, "Okay, I hope you're playing something that'll be good for a fight." And he's like, "Yeah, street fighting, man. G7." And then he presses G8, and it's like, "If you like pina coladas." Which is like the best. And when I forgot what he said. When he went out the window, he grabs his tape recorder. He's like, "Note to self, learn to fight." So they basically have this whole kind of scheme to ruin it. So he goes in and he gives all the staff the brownies that they had earlier.
Right. So
everybody's tripping out. Right. And then also he gives it to the lead opera dude, right? And because he's like, "Oh, I'll go get your costume here. You like brownies?" Right? No, he's like, "Hey, you're a fat guy. You want a brownie?" So he gives him the brownie. He's tripping out too. Well, because they never show him. Pops takes over his part, right? Because they wheel him in, and they have all of the residents of 99 Franklin Street there.
Yes.
And then the homeless guys are walking through the crowd, but they're just...
Did you fart? Oh, no, that was me earlier.
Yeah, he's like,
excuse me. Pardon me.
Oh, I just farted back there. And he's like,
that reminded me of the Bugs Bunny.
Oh.
Like when he's going through the theater thing and he's like, "Excuse me, pardon me, excuse me."
It was so funny because they were just going back and forth and they all smelled, He's like, "I must smell really bad."
And then you got Farley back there and he's like talking to the skunks about like
yeah, in the land of skunks, a man with half a nose is king. Yes, that whole big old monologue.
In a land of the blind, a man with one eye is king. Here.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, and then home dude comes back there. He's like, "Hey, let him go," and he's like, "Oh yeah." So he's like, "Go," and of course they're CGI skunks.
Yeah, but before that, we do have to talk about because it starts, and then like she does her part. The lady does her part at the beginning, and then that's when Pops comes out, which should have been when the main character came out. And he's like trying to have sex with her, of course, because that's what he does.
He's like, "Hey, give me some sugar, baby." So everybody's freaking out.
And then they release the skunks.
The skunks come in, and everybody starts running out. And that one dude in the crowd's like, "This is a riveting performance of Don Giovanni." This interpretation is miraculous. It's like, what the fuck, right?
And then he's up in the balcony with old Shooter McGavin. He goes up there and he's like, "I got this on tape." And well, McGavin tries to leave, and I can call him Trent or Travis Cole.
Yeah, Travis Cole.
He tries to leave. But he's got all the whores there.
Yeah, and they're like, "Ah!"
And he's like, "Oh."
So they go back in. They go back in.
And he makes him give him a check for $50,000.
You got to pay me.
And then he had to sign the paperwork for the real estate.
So he does that, gives him the check, and then he grabs
the the recorder.
He's like, that would have worked if I didn't have one hooked up to the PA system. So Kathy plays it and plays that deal, and he gets pissed off.
And of course, it starts out with like, "Not there." Is like a note to self, something about getting some wort cream.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
a little bit further. Yeah, a
little bit further from there. And then they play it. And then he fucking, that would have hurt like a son of a bitch to get thrown off of that balcony. Both of them. So they both land, right? And Travis Cole gets busted. He's like, whatever. I'm going to put a stop check on that. Right. Stupid son of a bitch or something, And he's
my
like,
legal team.
Yeah. So while he's getting escorted out after, they've saved the day pretty much, they pull some dirty work on the fucking deal to save the day. He's walking out and he sees like his accountant or something. He's like, hey, please put a stop check on. And he's like, okay.
But he's tripping and he sees like a really hot girl asking if he wants to have sex.
He's like, yeah. But then they have, what was it? The Kenny Norton and Home Dude fight.
Gary Coleman, yeah.
Yeah, when they're still in
Norton,
the outfits.
And Gary Coleman,
yeah.
And
he just knocks him out in one punch.
Well, of course he would.
Yeah.
He's like a heavyweight champion.
But they're all watching.
Yeah.
They're all watching this fake fight happen while he's grabbing all the suits and giving it to the residents.
Right.
So they save the day. Dirty work's done, right? And he gets the girl.
Yeah.
And Pop's got a new
job.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that what he says? Sam and I got sweet new jobs. And
what job did they get? Did he say?
Their dirty work, I guess.
Oh.
That's what they meant out of it, because it's what they do. It's what they're comfortable doing.
Yeah.
And Pop's got a new heart and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Everything worked out.
Everything worked out just fine. So they hop in. They stop. They're meeting in front of the building, and that's when Farley pulls up in his Trans Am.
Yes.
Or Firebird. And him and the Saigon hooker
bit his nose off.
Yeah, and he's like, best $50 I ever spent. Got his nose replaced, right? So he's like, blah, 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 blah.
He's like, you're pissing me off.
When I say go, you go.
He's got the T-tops
yes.
out.
And then they're driving away, and you can hear him, oh, you bit off my new nose. So they basically drive off into the sunset. Mitch and Kathy do in his Oldsmobile. Yeah, Oldsmobile with the rag top on it. So that's it.
Absolutely.
Man, I know we didn't talk about the part where they were driving by he's like, hey, look, movie theater. He's like, you know what to do. Or he's like, I know what to do. So Artie pulls down his pants and he's mooning the crowd, and he just
stops right next to him.
And he gets out and he starts walking across the street, and Artie's like,
he's like gets out and pulling his pants up.
He was supposed to keep going.
There's so many little parts like that in this movie. Again, I can only imagine how good this would have been if they wouldn't have cut down. You know what I mean? Because it's still good. I enjoy it. It's funny. But could you imagine if it was everything they wanted it to be?
I'm literally like my face hurts from smiling so much talking about this. I have always really liked this movie.
Yeah, it's funny.
Ever since the first time I saw it. I was never all like, oh, this movie's kind of good. Nope.
Kind of good?
Mm-mm. Oh, he does even mention that one part, too, that when they're on the roof and he's like, you remember that one time when I saw your sister under the monkey bars? And he's like, yeah.
I was looking at my sister's underwear.
Yeah. He's like, oh, you remember that time in high school?
In 12th grade?
In 12th grade when you guys boned? And he's like, There's just those little bitty things.
Absolutely.
Man, if he would have been able to make more movies, but I think they probably just like fucked him over on this so much where he's like, screw it.
Well, didn't he have another talk show later too, though? Like, or earlier than the...
I think so,
earlier,
right?
Like the Norm Show or something like that.
Yeah, right.
I remember that.
It ain't over till the fat lady checks into a cheap hotel with Pops.
Yeah, right. Well, at the end, Pops might be getting with Kathy's grandma.
Right. Looks like it, yeah. When he's peeing off the building too.
And the guy's like, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, and he comes up.
He's like there in a flash.
He's like, damn, that was a hell of a piss. Because the dude is soaked. Why didn't he move? He just stays there. He's covered in pee.
So, what do you think, Brock? What would you give? What would you rate this movie?
Pure comedy, a 9 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
Because I love it. Just so, I mean, everything. You know? Everything about it is so funny.
Yeah, I think I would give this probably 6 out of 10 Saigon Horrors.
Yeah.
If it were me.
Yeah.
And I think only because you can tell it's muted. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you could definitely tell that there were things that were moved around and, whatnot.
Everything was just, it was so quick. It's a 90-minute
it's a
comedy movie from the 90s that works only if you just pay attention to the jokes and don't care about the story. It's a Billy Madison.
Yeah.
Billy Madison, same thing.
It's the same. You're exactly right that it's a Billy Madison.
Billy Madison was just nothing but joke after joke. The one thing is, though, this movie, I think, held up more and better. And I'm not romanticizing it because he just passed away.
Right.
But I watched Billy Madison a couple of months ago, I think. And I was just like, this is not funny.
Right.
There's funny parts, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
And as a whole, funny. But there were some things I was just like, what the? Did I really think that was funny?
Sure.
Stop looking at me, Swan. I was like, kind of cringed.
Right.
I
Sure.
was like, ay. But...
Well, it's very sophomoric humor for
100%.
Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Specifically. Like a lot of his early stuff was very much that way.
Yeah, yeah. I think the delivery of the jokes by everybody was pretty good. They didn't really... Artie was the only one that wasn't like completely acting really, 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 really good. You know what I mean? Because it was his first movie.
Sure.
So, I mean, how can you say that?
And we did forget to say that at the end, they do say that Dr. Farthing, Chevy Chase's character, paid his money back and they killed him anyways.
Yeah.
So now he's dead.
He's like, how much you want to bet that I don't go to the bookies?
He's like, no, go so you can do his heart surgery.
Yeah, go now. He's like, oh, okay.
So he's dead. That's how they end the movie. I was like, that's great.
Yeah. So whenever they see him with the arm and he's like, so what happened to your arm? He's like, well, either I slept on it wrong or I heard it whenever I got thrown out of a speeding car. I don't know. I like this movie. I really think the jokes, because I've always been a fan of Norm Macdonald because of that humor. I like that not everybody gets it straight up.
Sure.
It's not like it's on the surface humor, but it's a little bit more. I don't know how to describe it.
I think that if this were to have been a rated R movie, and I think this would probably be an 8 to 9 for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, because they made it PG-13, I think that's what kind of for me a little bit. But it was great. I enjoyed it, and I'm not mad I had to watch Dirty Work ever.
No.
It's
another one of those movies I think I watch once a year or once every couple of years.
Yeah.
So I have seen it probably 20 times or something like that. Just because it's not nostalgic, it's just funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
The jokes don't really seem dated. The movie seems dated as fuck.
Sure.
The music and the colors and the way that everybody looked, but the jokes aren't dated.
No, not at all.
Pops was dirty as shit. And Artie Lang was on some HBO show, Making It or something like that. I forgot what it was, but he was really good in that.
Yeah.
And he's a funny dude.
Sure.
He's seriously funny. Norm was seriously funny. Everybody was. It was part of this.
Again, I think it would have been great to be on this set. I couldn't even imagine.
Just having fun.
Yeah, they do show a lot of the outtakes at the end.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, them joking. when he has all the brownies in his mouth.
The guy, you even see the guy coming over with like the paper towel.
Yeah, because he's gonna
is.
spit them out.
Right?
Yeah, there was just a lot. There's just a lot of really cool shit in this movie.
Absolutely. And like, you guys can let us know what you guys think of this movie. Where could they do that, Brock?
At dropculture.com.
Yeah.
Or you can send us a sneal.
A sneal?
A sneal. An email.
Oh.
A slow email.
Ah.
Because the internet sucks.
A sleemail?
A sneemail. Sleemail. Whatever.
You can send us an email. Where can they do that?
At dropculturepodcast@gmail.com. You also got us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Everything that has anything to do with social media, except for the old stuff.
Yeah, we don't TikTok.
Yeah, we're not AOL instant messengers either.
Oh, so
Not
we're
anymore.
somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, we're kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you get a chance and you never watched this movie, please watch it.
Yeah, check it out. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, and you know what? We have to say goodbye to Norm Macdonald, one of the funniest comedians out there of all time.
Yeah.
So, rest in peace.
Peace.
10 seconds is up. It's hard to do comedy movies, huh?
Yeah. It's hard to go from a comedy movie to, oh, by the way, this guy died.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry,
he's gone.
Sorry, he's Canadian.
He's Canadian and he lived on a farm. Did you know that?
What?
Norm Macdonald was his dad was a farmer. They lived on farms. He only listened to country and Western music.
I could see that.
Only listened to like outlaw country. He was big friends with Billy Joe Shaver. That was like his best friend. Billy Joe Shaver wrote a lot of hits for Willie Nelson, Chris Christopherson. He wrote music for a lot of people. Kind of was a template for the outlaw.